Hello again. As usual, this is Becca going by Nightcat or Nightcat's Meow most places online. Welcome back, all my favorite coder cats and coder kittens, for another week where I'm here to talk with you about Linden Scripting Language. As you may have recalled, we've been going over this little locationer device for the past couple of weeks. Last time I went over using a little more detail on the raycast, and I promised that this time I would show you an alternate way of getting keys into the device. And we're actually going to do it with a sensor. So we're going to start the sensor off with here. And sensor actually is kind of complicated. You need both a sensor itself and an event handler that will actually process the results of the sensor. If you recall, event handlers are things like on click, collision, so touch start, collision start, listen, that are triggered from something else that then feeds data into the handler. So we're going to do just a single sensor as opposed to a sensor repeat for this particular case. This came up for the handler as opposed to the actual thing itself. So let's go LL sensor. There we go. This is what we needed. If you're searching the wiki, LL sensor is the actual command, and then sensor is the handler. I don't use them often, so I actually forgot that. We'll clear that. We'll make this trigger on touch. Sensor. So you name, key ID, an integer for type, a float for radius, and a float for arc. Now, when I was doing the talk about the raycast, I talked about how arc is basically how much of a sphere to scan with. It's usually easiest if you just do the full sphere. So string the name, object or avatar name. That would be, I guess, if you were looking for something very specific. ID, group, avatar, object, UUID that is in the same region. Type, you would set the different types of things you can scan for. These are listed here. Agent by legacy name, agent by username, blah, 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 blah. Radius, distance from center, and then arc, maximum angle of the x-axis on the prim, and detectable objects range to pi. So this is one of those, there's enough of these that are a bit complicated. You might want to look down here and see an example. Their example lists, it has nothing in the name section, so it will accept anything. It's not filtering. Null key, it's again not filtering for any specific key. Agent, so it's looking for an avatar within 30 meters in an absolute full circle. And that's pretty much exactly what we want to do. But if you had a specific person, you wanted to see if they were in range, you could either put in their name or their key, and it would automatically filter for those. If there's a specific object you wanted to watch for, you could do that as well. But we don't really need to do any of that. So pi is going to search in a full sphere within 30 meters for an avatar. It does not care about that avatar's key or that avatar's name. That is exactly what we want here. Now back to the sensor. This is the handler that processes what was detected by your sensor. So list who equals who equals so this gives integer number detected. Now, since I'm the only one in Sim, it's only going to detect one, but we're going to write this as though you had more available. So we're going to make this a simple one and say we're going to put in the first 6, because this would be then detecting the 6 closest avatars that you would then use for plugging into your tracker. This would be useful if, for example, you had a military squad sim or something like that. You could just have one person click this and go, okay, you closest to me, huddle up together. We're going to form this squad. Boom. Now I can track all of you. Kind of useful. So we're going to say who equals who plus detected key 0. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, since who is a list, we start out, we make sure that we blank the list when we initially click it before we run the sensor. The sensor will automatically add to the list, which is empty, the first key it detects. It then adds another entry with the second key it detects, third entry with the fourth, so on and so forth. Then we can say owner say cast to string who. That's just a simple way to make sure that we get a look at it. Alright, so you get my key first, and then you get a blank key, and a blank key, a blank key, so on and so forth. Nothing in them. But that's not very useful. It will give you keys to track up here if that's your objective, but it's not super useful to look at that way. So we are going to create I plus 1 plus belongs to plus name. Save. And that was an error because I had left a stray underscore. Pardon my phone there. That was an error because I left a stray underscore. And here, that had errored because the I plus 1, that's a calculation or a formula, that it couldn't convert all of that at once until I put it in parentheses, which says to treat that as a single unit. So it was able to convert that. There we go. Key list 1 belongs to Rebecca Wendell. I don't have anybody else in Sim, so I can't test on anyone else. But that gives you a very basic introduction on the use of sensors. In a lot of cases, I prefer to avoid using sensors because if you're firing them off frequently, it has to then scan through every possible thing in range that could actually be relevant to it. So in a lot of cases, they are not the most processor efficient way to get something done. That's why I frequently show you other ways to do it. But for something like this, it's just fired off once in a while. A sensor is an easy and simple way to get the job done. So that will be it for this week. So thank you all for coming by. Please like, comment, subscribe. Links to a Discord chat for discussing this are in the description of this video, as are playlist links for both this particular series and my decoded series where I do much like I did last week, and I break down the specifics of a given command, its syntax, its use, structure, all of that. So, hope to see you all next week. Again, Discord is actually probably a better place to ask questions than the YouTube comments, although comments in the YouTube section really help this channel out and help YouTube recognize that, at least within the particular niche that we're serving, that this is actually a worthy channel. So, you know, like, subscribe, comment, share it with any other potential programming enthusiasts. And if you know anybody that's thinking about learning programming, send them this way. It's my belief that Linden Scripting Language is actually a really good language to start on for a lot of reasons. And it actually made picking up some of the more advanced languages like C++, C#, Visual Basic, it made a lot of those much, much easier because the structure and syntax is almost identical. So it's relatively easy to transition over to that. And if you've got all the basics down here, then you only have to focus on learning to understand the more advanced memory management options and some of the quirkiness of classes and objects in an object-oriented language. So that's enough of my advocating for LSL as a teaching language, and I will hope to see you all next week. Thanks again. Good day, good week, good luck, happy coding. Meow.